Welcome to the 80-20 question of the week. My name is Tim Francis, and in the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you a fascinating 80-20 question that may unlock some exciting new opportunities inside of your business. You and I are very similar in that we have at least a few nagging projects that just seem to suck up so much of our time. And you and I, we both would love to find a way to get out from underneath some of those. Well, my friend, you're in good hands today, as today's 80-20 question of the week will definitely help you to get unstuck. First, I'm going to share with you this little high-tech slide presentation that I've got. And in this presentation, you're going to learn about a fascinating concept called decision burden. Just grabbing another slide here. And decision burden is something I talked about in my vlog. If you watched yesterday's vlog episode, you would have seen a more in-depth explanation of decision burden. Now, I'm going to go just through the abbreviated version of this today so that we can get to the 80-20 question of the week all in just a few minutes' time. So right now, with my vlog, I'm finding the editing of it to be incredibly time-consuming, and I absolutely need to get it off my plate. And so when I was thinking about what I could do, I realized that it really just came down to a couple of issues that were preventing me from being able to hand the project off to an editor. Really, I realized that I needed to figure out how to decrease the number of decisions and also the difficulty of the decisions. Or I could pick one or the other, but point is, the more that I could get either or both of these down, the easier it would be to delegate editing to somebody else. Now, obviously, I'm going to be talking about video editing. However, these same two factors and the overall idea of decision burden applies to you. The details may be different, but the principle is exactly the same. So for the sake of example and learning this idea, I'm going to talk about video editing. I was finding that I was having to make tons of little editing decisions along the way. Where should I cut this next clip, kind of thing. I was also finding that I was having to make a wide range of different difficulties of decisions. So what kind of music is the right mood here? What kind of format should I use? Those are definitely more difficult decisions compared to a very simple decision, which might be something like, should we cut here or should we cut there? So I also quickly realized that the difficulty of decisions was tied back to the fee that I'd have to pay per hour to the editor that I hired. Secondly, I realized that the number of decisions I'd have to make directly affected the number of hours I'd have to hire someone. Even if it's a simple task, if they have to cut 150 times, that's going to just really, jack up the number of hours I'm going to have to pay someone. And I realized that anytime one of these two goes up, the price goes up immediately. Heaven forbid both go up at the same time. That's like jumping out of the paper exponential price. So that caused me to think about, what are my options then for decreasing these two factors, number of decisions and difficulty of decisions. And again, the details for you are going to be a little bit different, whatever the project or team is that you're looking to manage more effectively. I'm talking just in my case about video editing so you can see a real world example. So what would decrease the number of decisions that an editor would have to make, and therefore the number of hours that they would have to work? Well, first of all, if I just chose to do fewer episodes, obviously that would be fewer hours of work, fewer editing decisions to make. Shorter episodes would probably do the same. Cleaner speaking, so as a presenter, if I wasn't saying ums and ands or making any kinds of mistakes, that would clean things up. Less editing to do, fewer decisions. And then also, if I present A+ content that's really engaging on its own, it's really educational, entertaining, aspirational, inspirational, then we don't have to go into all kinds of crazy effects to try and grab people's attention. When I asked myself, what could I do to reduce the difficulty of the decisions and therefore decrease the hourly fee I'd have to pay to a contractor, I realized that if I spent some time doing some 80-20 decision making myself ahead of time, I'd be able to maybe choose an episode format for each episode. So just like The Office has a little 90-second clip at the start, then the intro music, then 18 minutes of show, and then a few minutes of final kind of postscript one-on-one interview with Michael or someone, or the way that Saturday Night Live always has a monologue, a few comedy skits, a few actors or actresses, and a few performances by a band. It's a set format. So if I pick that format once, then I would be shooting to that format each time, and the editor would know how to slot things in without having to try and invent some kind of like mysterious method to decipher all the clips that I'm handing to them. A set weekly format would also do wonders. If I always said Monday is, for example, 80-20 question of the week day, Tuesdays is questions from entrepreneurs such as yourself, Wednesdays is tales from the trenches, Thursdays teach a lesson, something like that, then that would also create a nice weekly rhythm that would really reduce the number of decisions that I would have to make also, as well as the editor. Furthermore, if I were to find a few solid music sources, then the editor wouldn't have to spend all this time trolling the internet, trying to find, trawling the internet, like a fisherman trawling the ocean, to find music sources. If I also picked a style guide, now here's a really interesting enhancement to all this is I could hire like a graphic designer who might be really expensive for just an hour or two to get them to help me set a style guide, then take that style guide and hand it to an editor who might be, half the price to do the actual implementation. So that's an interesting way to split it up that saves a bunch of cash. And lastly, obviously, if I also have A+ content, then I don't have to worry about whiz-bang editing. In this case, I don't need somebody who understands green screens and special effects and all manners of crazy stuff. So you can see in the real world what decision burden looks like. You can see what the two components are, which is difficulty of decisions and volume of decisions. And I'm certain that this question of the week will help you to pull some of that out and to make use of this idea of decision burden. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the 80-20 question of the week. I'm just going to back up here. We'll give the camera a second to adjust in lighting. Okay, I think it did. And so the 80-20 question of the week is, what would you have to change about your project or team to dramatically reduce the volume and or difficulty of decisions, known as decision burden? So this is a level 3 question, could be arguably a level 2 question on our 5 levels of 80-20 thinking. This is more of a manager type question. We're asking what would we have to change about the project that we're working on or the team that we're leading to dramatically reduce the volume and or difficulty of decisions, thereby decreasing decision burden. And so I encourage you on one hand to think deeply about these things, and on the other hand, don't think about it too hard. I guarantee you there's something right now that's already burning up your time and energy. The last handful of interviews I've done with entrepreneurs where I've been asking them about their biggest headaches, they pretty much always knew right away what was that big project. One client, it was bookkeeping. Another one, it was setting up automated sequences. For me, it's video editing. We all have that one thing that's just like sucking so much of our time. And so that part, don't think about it too hard. The part that I'd like you to invest your time in thinking, because you already know the project, is to think about maybe unpacking a little bit and or interview your team members if needed, or ask other entrepreneurs how they've handled it. Like, just however you need to go about it. See if there's a few big answers that you can come up with in the first 10%, which then decrease the volume and or difficulty of decisions. If you've thought this is super handy, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel here, where I'm sending out the vlogs as they come out, as well as the 80-20 question of the week, which comes out once per week. If you really like this and you want to join our 80-20 challenge, you can head over to profitfactory.com/club. It's actually free to participate in the 80-20 challenge for everybody who's a paying member of our Builders Club. My name is Tim Francis from profitfactory.com. I'm cheering you on as you bring 80-20 more and more into your business life as well as your personal life. And I'm just cheering you on with your business overall. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.